Many people think that eating healthy has to be time consuming. Are you one of them? If so, just hang with me. I'm going to share some tips in this video that explain why it doesn't necessarily have to be. I'm Stacy Lynn. I'm a wellness educator, and I help busy female entrepreneurs healthy up their hustle by teaching them how to get a lot more whole plant foods into their body every day, easily and deliciously, which is really important. And I'm going to share some tips in this video that will help you do the same. So what is a whole plant food, first of all, right? What I mean when I'm talking about whole plant foods is unrefined vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes like beans, peas, lentils, that sort of thing, and also nuts and seeds. So a good place to start when you're trying to incorporate more of these foods into your diet is with breakfast. Just really picking one meal a day to start with and kind of getting that under control. But breakfast tends to be maybe the easiest for people. It's pretty easy to get whole grain cereals, whether it's oatmeal or cold cereal, right? It's pretty easy to buy those and whip those up. On the cold cereal, be sure you're checking the ingredient list and it's not loaded with a ton of sugar, because some of them are. Also, if you like to have toast or bagels, you can buy whole grain breads pretty easily at most every grocery store now. So again, make sure the ingredient list, it says whole before the name of every grain. Otherwise it's not whole. And so and then bagels, whole grain bagels are a little harder to find, but you can find them, they're out there. And so those are fantastic. If fruit is obviously excellent, and everybody loves fruit, so grab a piece of fruit and put that into your breakfast. And also smoothies are fantastic, to include once in a while. And whether you have, take 10 minutes at home to whip one up or stop by a smoothie shop, just make sure you have both vegetables and fruit in there, right? So you have a great blend of nutrients, instead of just having just a fruit smoothie. Make sure they throw some greens in there. And if it's spinach, you can't taste it, right? Might make your drink green, but you can't taste it. So, and it's super healthy. So breakfast is a good place to start. Lunch is pretty easy also. Whether you're talking about veggie sandwiches or you're bringing leftovers from home, maybe you made a nice veggie soup or casserole or something. If you like Mexican food, you can stop by, a place like Chipotle or Qdoba or something similar, and have them put together a burrito or burrito bowl for you with some rice and beans, and have them hold the meats and cheeses just loaded up with salsa, and get some guacamole in there and lettuce, and maybe a corn salsa, something like that. They're fantastic and super energizing if you're holding all the heavy stuff like the cheeses and the meats and things. So also veggie sushi is fantastic. That's really yummy, and you can find that pretty easily now. A lot of grocery stores even have a little sushi spot in there over by the deli, so that's something to check for. And then some of the little pizza places now have, they'll make veggie pizzas for you, and believe it or not, a pizza is still a pizza even if it doesn't have cheese. I know a lot of people, you think if it doesn't have cheese it's not pizza, but trust me, they can be delicious, if you just throw enough good yummy veggies on there. And if they have like a little, like a balsamic fig or some kind of drizzle that you can put on, or you can do that at home, whatever, they're so good, so good. So anyways, so that, lunch is a pretty easy one to switch out to. Now dinner can be a little more challenging for people from a time standpoint. So what I recommend is picking recipes, whether you get them online, or there's so many great plant-based cookbooks out there now, but there's also tons online. That you pick a recipe that probably has not much more than 10 ingredients. The less ingredients, the faster it is to prepare, right? So, and look for one that doesn't have to cook very long. So maybe a prep time with cooking time and everything, only half an hour or so. Because, during the week we're busy, and, we don't have time to be, in the kitchen for an hour or two every night, right? So, if you can find recipes with short ingredient lists and a quick prep time, you're gonna be better off. It's gonna be easier for you to stick with eating healthy at dinner time. And the other tip I have around that, especially when it comes to dinner stuff, is meal prepping, on the weekend. And this is a big deal now. You hear people talk about it all the time, and for good reason. It really makes a tremendous difference. So if you can carve out, like, you know, whether it's 2-3 hours, whatever it takes you, on a Saturday or a Sunday to, you know, go to the grocery store and get the stuff you need for the week, come back and batch cook, basically, right? You know, cook, whether it's casseroles or soups or, you know, whatever it is that you want to eat during the week, prep it up all on that day, and just take a nice chunk of time and do it. And even for your salads, you can prep those ahead of time, which is a huge time saver during the week. You know, take all your different veggies, cut them up, put them in individual little containers, take your salad greens, wash them up, you know, put them in a lettuce crisper. You can buy those on Amazon. There's all different kinds and they're fantastic. You know, and basically just, you know, and if you really don't want to have to cut everything up, you can buy a lot of that stuff already cut up, and it does cost more, of course, but, you know, it saves time. So a lot of grocery stores now, over in the area where you buy the lettuce that comes in the bins, the plastic bins and stuff, they have cut up veggies for you too. So, you know, you can always do that. But anything you can do ahead of time, all together in one little session on the weekend, will save you so much time during the week. And you know, if it's handy and it's you know, is just ready to go, you're gonna eat it. Where if you gotta, you know, do a lot of work, you might say, I don't have time, and go grab an unhealthy choice. So, you know, you don't want to do that, right? So and then the last piece of the last tip I have right around this is to, you know, just gradually start to replace things in your kitchen. So, you know, just getting the stuff out of there. You're not going to make a special trip to the store to go get something unhealthy most times. You're just going to, you know, choose from what's there. So start to replace things one at a time, and you know, maybe each week pick 1 or 2 things in your kitchen that you know there's a healthier version, healthier choice. Let's swap it out, and it just starts to become habit after a while to buy that healthier choice and not the other. So I know that this can be a little daunting initially, trying to, you know, change up your diet and make it healthier. And so I have, you know, put together a guide that I wish I would have had when I was making all these changes, and it's called Foods for Thriving. It's an 18-page guide. It's free, totally free, and you just download it, and I think it'll be incredibly helpful to you, so I encourage you to grab it. It's got all kinds of stuff in there, including a food substitution chart. It's got some easy meal suggestions. There are answers to frequently asked questions around eating more whole plant foods. There is, you know, a great clickable resource list and a whole bunch of other stuff. So be sure and grab that, and I think you'll be happy you did. And other than that, I hope that these tips are helpful to you, and that, you know, I encourage you, as always, just to get a lot more whole plant foods into your body. You will feel better. You're going to have more energy. You know, and if you're doing it, you're eating enough of these foods often enough, it is going to benefit your health. There's just, you know, no way that it can't. So, so, you know, do yourself a favor and get more of those foods into your body. And if this video would be helpful to somebody you know, please be sure and share it. You know, spread the goodness. And I will be back with more videos around whole plant foods and how to get more of them into your diet. And until then, I hope you take good care. Have yourself a good day, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye-bye.